Benita was a television producer in New York City. She loved her job. She was at the top of her game.
The two that she has questions about, just get back to me about those.
This girl works a zillion hours and never tires and is so committed to her work, but so committed to her friends and so committed to her daughter.
She's always been making sure that everything she does has a A+ on it.
She is always done up very glamorous, but you don't always expect someone to look like that, to be so warm and loving and giving.
She just is the most loyal, non-judgmental person you probably will ever meet.
Benita was assigned to work on a story about a brilliant headline-making surgeon, Dr. Paolo Macchiarini. He was performing groundbreaking synthetic organ transplants, and he developed a technique to replace a patient's trachea with a plastic tube seeded with the patient's own stem cells.
That's right, good girl.
We were following the story of a toddler from Korea who was being brought to the U.S. She was born with no trachea at all, so she had been hospitalized from the day she was born. She was going to be the youngest person ever to get one of these artificial tracheas. It was an exciting story. I mean, the hope with the story was that this little girl was going to be kind of a miracle child. Just reading about him, you really got the sense from him that he wanted to help people, that he wanted to help humanity.
Here, we do everything from...
A breakthrough, a report that a doctor has found a way to grow a new windpipe.
Are hailing a surgical first that could offer new hope.
All these studies are ongoing. This could be the future.
He had this nickname that he was a rock star surgeon and the super surgeon. And I think that came from the fact that he was willing to take risks. He was a cowboy.
He was basically a wonder child. Incredibly successful. He was very much sought after internationally.
He was seen as someone who was going to revolutionize, the whole field of organ transplantation.
It seemed as he was able to tailor-make organs that you could perhaps even mass-produce in the future. People were thinking that with his technique you could do synthetic hearts, synthetic livers, synthetic esophagi, even synthetic parts of the brain.
He held a post at the Karolinska Institute in Sweden. That's where they hand out the Nobel Prize in Medicine.
They thought of him as maybe someone who would win a Nobel Prize one day.
Did I think he was going to be a part of my life? No, absolutely not. We met the afternoon before we were going to sit down and interview him. And it was the weirdest thing. He comes around the corner, he looks right at me, and in that second, something happened. I mean, I got this sort of chill through my body, like there was some sort of electric spark. And I remember in my head thinking, what the hell was that? I'm saying to myself, okay, whatever this is, don't think about it. I think the thing that was always a question mark to me was my personal life. I had recently been divorced from my husband of 12 years, who is the father of our daughter. It was a messy divorce, and it was difficult. I had a rebound relationship with a lovely person, but I wasn't ready to be in another serious relationship. I was just kind of putting one foot in front of the other and getting through. I've always been a workaholic, so that's always been my refuge.
And now with Benita's upcoming story about Dr. Macchiarini, she began spending a lot of time away from home in Illinois, where the surgery was going to take place. And on top of everything, there's added pressure.
When Paolo and Benita first met, her ex-husband had brain cancer. And it was heart-wrenching.
The prognosis was awful, and it was just really difficult. I knew I was going to have to tell my daughter that her dad was dying. I couldn't even fathom how to do it. She was only 9.
It was very strenuous because she's trying to hold it together for her job. She's trying to hold it together for her daughter. She's trying to hold it together for everybody and everything else except herself.
Paolo was a really good listener. He and I started going to dinners, and I was kind of pouring my heart out to him about all this stuff. He gave me really sage, solid, kind advice. I have amazing friends, but I was in Illinois. They weren't there. And I needed someone to lean on.
He was really comforting and really helpful, during that period at a really critical time.
I was very close to the end with my ex-husband, and he was in hospice, and he was already in a coma at that point. I couldn't physically say goodbye to him. And Paolo kept saying to me, you need to find a way to say goodbye to him. However you do it, in your own way, it's the only way you're going to be able to get through this. And so I said, I know what I want to do. And Paolo said, okay, I'll help you. Birds of Paradise were my ex-husband's favorite flower. We had them at our wedding. So he drove me on his motorcycle, and we went to a flower shop, and we took a long motorcycle ride along the Illinois River until I found a place that I wanted to throw them in the water. And there was something about that day, the fact that he had taken the time, that he had driven me all the way out there, and he just sat there waiting patiently while I did what I had to do. And he hugged me. He could see the pain in my face, and I didn't resist. And it wasn't just a quick hug. There was something really sort of intense about it. I remember thinking, I'm falling for this guy. That was the moment I knew. That day marked the beginning of our romantic involvement.
But it was really complicated. Paolo explained that he had been separated for years, but the divorce still wasn't legal, and Benita, she was still a reporter doing a documentary on him.
It was really difficult because I was falling in love with somebody that I was doing a story about, which you are not supposed to do. If you get involved with somebody, your objectivity could be compromised. And I agonized about it.
I was very surprised to see her so focused on this guy. And so I figured he must be special to kind of take that risk.
Did I compromise my journalistic integrity? Yeah. I really didn't know what to do.
And that's when Paolo really upped the stakes. He told her he was whisking her away with him on a long weekend in Italy. Against her better judgment, she agreed.
Venice, the motorboat.
He was taking me to Venice. The whole trip was so romantic. I mean, just over-the-top romance. Everything. The food, the flowers, the dinners. He rented a private boat, and we took day trips to these islands. That was truly being swept off my feet.
It was almost like a scene from any romantic love story that you could imagine. He did it.
This started out as a beautiful love story. It turned into a nightmare. At some point, this thing had to implode.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.